Cole Bennett checked his watch for the third time in 10 minutes, praying this disaster would end soon. The woman across from him sat perfectly still in her Armani suit, posture rigid, eyes scanning him like a bored meeting evaluation. Everything about her screamed wealth. The Hermes bag perched beside her chair, the subtle glint of her diamond earrings catching the cafe lights, even the way she held her untouched coffee cup with manicured fingers. When she finally asked what he did for a living, Cole glanced down at his own hands. Calloused palms, sawdust embedded under cracked nails, that angry pink scar stretching across his right hand, and muttered the truth that should have sent her running. "I'm just a poor, single dad." The silence stretched between them like a chasm. Then she did something he never expected. She smiled. Not the polite, dismissive smile of someone ready to leave. No, this was different. Intimate. Knowing. The kind of smile that made his chest tighten and his instincts scream danger. Cole had only agreed to this blind date because Kyle, his brother-in-law, had been pestering him for 3 solid months. "You need to move on, man. It's been 5 years. Laura wouldn't want you living like a monk." Kyle didn't understand. Nobody did. Sitting across from a stranger, pretending to care about small talk and compatibility, felt like betraying the only woman he'd ever loved. The Riverside Cafe buzzed with Friday night energy around them, couples laughing over wine, the hiss of the espresso machine, jazz music floating through speakers. But Cole felt like he was underwater, watching life happen to other people. Margot Sinclair, that was her name, he'd learned exactly 7 minutes into this torture, tilted her head slightly, studying him with an intensity that made him want to bolt. "A carpenter," she said, not quite a question. "That's interesting." Her voice carried the crisp pronunciation of someone used to boardrooms and conference calls. Cole shifted in his seat, suddenly hyper-aware of his flannel shirt, worn but clean, chosen because it was the nicest thing he owned that didn't smell like wood stain. "It's just a small operation," he said, defensive without meaning to be. "Work out of my garage. Custom furniture, mostly." "And your daughter?" Margot asked, leaning forward slightly. Something flickered in her eyes. Curiosity, maybe, or calculation. Cole's entire demeanor softened instantly, the way it always did when anyone mentioned Lily. "She's 7. Her name's Lily. She's with my neighbor right now, probably driving Mrs. Chen crazy with questions about everything." A ghost of a real smile touched his lips. "She wants to know how everything works. Last week she took apart my radio to see the music box inside." Margot's expression shifted, just barely, like watching ice crack on a frozen lake. "She sounds wonderful," she said, and for the first time that evening, she sounded human. The conversation limped along for another 20 minutes, each minute feeling like an hour. Cole learned that Margot ran a healthcare technology company, that she lived in the West Hills, that she had a sister she was close to. He volunteered little about himself, answering questions in sentence fragments, his body language screaming discomfort. When his phone buzzed with a text from Lily, a photo of a drawing she'd made, all crooked hearts and stick figures, he seized the opportunity like a drowning man grabbing a life preserver. "I should go," he said, already standing. "Early morning tomorrow." Margot nodded. No protest, no disappointment visible on her carefully composed face. "Of course. Have a good night, Mr. Bennett." Cole was halfway to the door when he heard her voice behind him. "Wait." He turned, confused. Margot stood beside their table, purse in hand, that unreadable smile back on her face. "Just a poor single dad?" She repeated his words back to him, something dancing in her tone he couldn't identify. "Yeah," Cole said slowly. "That's what I am." Her smile widened just slightly. "Interesting." She walked past him toward the exit, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor, leaving him standing there wondering what the hell had just happened. Interesting. What was interesting about being broke and alone and trying to raise a kid on carpentry jobs that barely paid the bills? 15 minutes later, Cole sat at a red light on Southwest Madison Street, his ancient Ford pickup truck idling roughly, rain starting to mist the windshield. His phone buzzed with a text from Kyle. "How'd it go?" Cole ignored it. He was composing a reply in his head, something polite but final, making it clear this dating experiment was over, when impact jolted him forward against his seatbelt. Not hard, but enough. The crunch of metal on metal, the protest of his truck's old frame. Cole's first thought was about the cost. His second thought arrived when he stepped out into the drizzle and saw the black Mercedes S-Class sitting behind him, driver's door opening. Margot Sinclair emerged, somehow still perfectly composed despite rear-ending his truck. They stood in the rain, staring at each other, the absurdity of the situation hanging between them like fog. "Are you following me?" Cole asked, and he meant it half seriously. Margot's eyebrows rose. "Excuse me? You think I deliberately crashed into you?" She walked around to examine the damage, her expensive shoes splashing through puddles. Cole's tail light was cracked, spiderwebbed with brakes. Her Mercedes had barely a scratch. "I live in this direction," she said, her tone frosty now. "West Hills, remember? This is my route home." Cole knelt to examine his truck, rain soaking through his shirt. The tail light would need replacing. Maybe $150 he didn't have. Maybe more. "I'll pay for the damage," Margot said, already pulling out her phone, presumably to call her insurance. "It's fine," Cole said through gritted teeth. "It's not fine. It's my fault. I'll take care of it." She produced a business card from her purse, held it out to him. "Send me the estimate? Or better yet, take it to a shop and—" Cole stood abruptly. "I said it's fine. I don't need your charity." The words came out harsher than he intended, sharpened by years of pride and poverty grinding against each other. Margot's hand, still holding the card, didn't waver. "It's not charity, Mr. Bennett. It's responsibility." Her voice stayed level, professional, the same tone she probably used when closing million-dollar deals, but something in her eyes looked almost hurt. "You people always think money fixes everything," Cole said, and he knew he was being unfair, knew he was lashing out at the wrong target. "Well, some things can't be fixed with a check." Margot lowered her hand slowly. "You people?" she repeated quietly. Cole's anger deflated as quickly as it had risen, leaving him just tired. Tired and wet and ashamed. "Just keep your money. Keep your card. I'll fix it myself." He turned back toward his truck, done with this conversation, done with this entire disastrous night. "How much?" Margot's voice stopped him. "What?" he said without turning around. "How much is your time worth? To fix it yourself?" Cole finally looked at her. Rain had darkened her hair, spots of water on her suit jacket. She looked less like a CEO and more like a person, and somehow that made it worse. "That's not the point," he said. "Then what is the point?" Margot asked, and she actually sounded like she wanted to know. Cole's jaw worked for a moment. "The point is I can't afford to owe anyone anything," he said finally, the words raw and honest in a way that surprised him. Something shifted in Margot's expression. Not pity. He would have hated pity. But something else. Understanding, maybe. "It's not a debt," she said quietly. "It's just fairness." Cole laughed, a bitter sound. "In my world, nothing is free." They stood there in the rain while traffic passed around them, two people from different universes trying to speak the same language. Finally, Margot nodded. "Okay, I understand. She put the business card back in her purse, then hesitated. But if you change your mind... She left it hanging. Cole didn't respond. A police cruiser pulled up, lights flashing, and they spent the next 20 minutes giving statements, Margot handling everything with efficient grace while Cole stood silently by. When the officer finally left, Margot turned to Cole one last time. "That scar," she said, nodding toward his hand. "How did you get it?" The question came out of nowhere, casual but pointed. Cole's right hand instinctively curled closed, hiding the scar from view. "Old injury," he said after a pause. "Long time ago." Margot's gaze lingered on his fist. "Looks like a burn." Cole's throat tightened. "Yeah." He didn't elaborate, didn't explain. Couldn't explain without going to a place he'd locked away 5 years ago. Margot watched him for a long moment, and he had the strangest feeling she was seeing something he hadn't shown her. Finally, she nodded. "Good night, Mr. Bennett." Cole drove home through rain-slicked streets, hands tight on the wheel, his mind churning. When he pulled into his driveway, he found Margot's business card on the passenger seat. It must have fallen from his pocket during the accident. "Margot Sinclair, CEO, Sinclair Healthcare Solutions." A phone number, an email address, an office address downtown. Lily burst out of Mrs. Chen's house before he even got his key out, all wild energy and bedtime defiance. "Daddy!" She crashed into his legs, hugging him fiercely. "Did you have fun on your date?" Cole picked her up, breathing in the kid smell of her hair. Apple shampoo and something sweet. "It was okay, baby." Lily pulled back to look at his face, her eyes, Laura's eyes, searching. "Just okay." Mrs. Chen appeared in her doorway, arms crossed, knowing smile on her weathered face. "She wanted to wait up for you. I told her 10 more minutes and then bed, so you better hurry." Cole carried Lily inside their small apartment, past the cramped living room with its second-hand furniture, past the kitchen where he'd make her breakfast in the morning, into her bedroom decorated with drawings she'd made, rainbows and flowers and stick-figure families. "Tell me about the pretty lady," Lily said as he tucked her in. Cole paused. "How do you know she was pretty?" Lily giggled. "Uncle Kyle told me. He said she's very smart and very pretty." Cole made a mental note to kill Kyle. "She was nice," he said, smoothing Lily's hair back from her forehead. "But we're okay. Just you and me. Right?" Lily's face grew serious, the way kids' faces do when they're trying to say something important. "Daddy, I love just you and me. But it's okay if you want to be happy too." The words hit him square in the chest. 7 years old and already wise beyond her years, already worried about him when he should be the one doing the worrying. "I am happy," Cole said, but the lie tasted bitter. "I have you. That's all I need." Lily hugged him tight. "I love you, Daddy." He kissed her forehead. "Love you too, baby. Now sleep." That night, Cole lay in his own bed, staring at the ceiling. Laura's side of the bed had been empty for 5 years, but he still slept on his side, leaving space for a ghost. His mind kept circling back to that night 5 years ago, the way it always did when he couldn't sleep. November 15th, 2019. The night that split his life into before and after. He'd been driving home from work, the Morrison Tower project finally approved, thinking about celebrating with Laura. Then he'd seen the smoke, heard the screaming, and done something he'd regretted every day since. The girl in the fire had been young, maybe mid-20s. Unconscious in her bedroom, smoke filling the apartment. Cole hadn't thought. He'd just acted, kicked down the door, grabbed her, burned his hand on a metal door frame getting out, left her on the grass, used his handkerchief, the one Laura had embroidered with his initials as a wedding gift, to cover her mouth. The ambulance arrived. The paramedics took over. Someone was asking him questions, and then his phone rang. "Mr. Bennett, this is Providence Portland Medical Center. Your wallet was found at a fire scene. Are you injured? We need you to come in. We've called your wife." The rest of that night existed in fragments, being treated for burns and smoke inhalation. The second call, the one from the state police. Laura driving to the hospital, worried about him, rushing through rain. The drunk driver who ran a red light on Highway 26. Impact. Laura's car spinning off the road. By the time Cole got there, it was too late. She held on until morning, until he could hold her hand and Lily could say goodbye, even though Lily was too young to understand. Laura's last words. "Take care of our girl. Don't blame yourself. You're a hero." But he did blame himself. Every single day. 2 weeks passed. Cole tried to forget about Margot Sinclair, tried to fall back into his routine. Wake at 6, make Lily breakfast, walk her to school, work in the garage workshop until 3. Pick up Lily. Homework, dinner, bedtime. Repeat. It was a good life, a simple life, and he told himself it was enough. Sunday morning, he took Lily to the Portland Farmers Market like they did every week. The market sprawled across Portland State University's campus, a maze of stalls selling organic produce, fresh bread, flowers, handmade crafts. Lily held his hand, chattering about everything, stopping to smell every flower, asking vendors how they grew their tomatoes or baked their bread. They were at the apple stand. Lily was particular about her apples, liked the organic Honeycrisps, when she suddenly yanked on his hand. "Daddy, look! It's the pretty lady!" Cole's head snapped up. There, 3 stalls down, examining heirloom tomatoes, stood Margot Sinclair. She wore jeans and a cream-colored sweater, her hair in a casual ponytail, no makeup visible from this distance. She looked nothing like the corporate warrior from the café. She looked normal, approachable. Before Cole could stop her, Lily had run over. "Hi, remember me? We talked on the phone." Margot looked startled, then her face softened into a genuine smile. "Oh, hello. Yes, you're Lily, right?" Cole hurried over, apples forgotten. "Sorry, she's friendly with strangers." He grabbed Lily's hand, maybe a little too firmly. Margot straightened up, cradling tomatoes in a reusable bag. "It's fine. I like your balloon, Lily." The butterfly balloon bobbed above Lily's head, nearly pulling free from her wrist. "Daddy got it for me. Do you like butterflies?" Lily asked with the easy confidence of children who haven't learned to be guarded yet. Margot paused, clearly unused to conversing with 7-year-olds. Yes, they're nice." Lily's questions came rapid fire. "Do you have kids? Do you want kids? What kind of work do you do?" Cole tried to intercede. "Lily, those are personal questions." But Margot held up a hand. "It's okay. I don't have children. I never thought about it much. I run a company that makes technology for hospitals." Lily's eyes went wide. "That's so cool. You help people get better?" Something in Margot's expression cracked, just slightly. "Something like that, yes." Cole stood there awkwardly, watching this exchange, unsure whether to pull Lily away or let it continue. He noticed things about Margot he'd missed at the cafe. The way she bent slightly to Lily's level, not quite right, but trying. The way her smile reached her eyes when Lily called her work cool. The way she touched one of the tomatoes absently, like she needed something to do with her hands. Then Lily asked the question that made Cole want to disappear into the ground. "Do you like my daddy?" Dead silence. A vendor nearby called out prices for organic kale. Someone's dog barked. Margot's eyes flicked to Cole, then back to Lily. "I don't know your daddy very well," she said carefully. Lily, undeterred, launched into a speech. "You should. He's the best daddy ever. He makes me breakfast every day and reads me stories and builds me toys with his own hands, and he never yells, and he's always there when I need him." Cole's ears burned red. "Lily, that's enough. We need to go." But Lily wasn't done. "He's lonely sometimes. I hear him at night when he thinks I'm sleeping. He talks to Mommy's picture." The air seemed to leave Cole's lungs. Margot's expression shifted into something he couldn't read. Sympathy, understanding, pain. "Lily," he said, his voice harder than intended. "Now." Lily's face fell. She looked between the adults, realizing she'd said something wrong without understanding what. "Okay, Daddy." She took his hand. Cole looked at Margot, tried to find words, failed. "I'm sorry. We'll get out of your way." He turned to leave. "She's right, you know," Margot said quietly. Cole stopped. "What?" Margot looked at him with those sharp, knowing eyes. "You sound wonderful, the way she talks about you. That's special." Cole swallowed hard. "Thanks. We're doing okay." He left before she could say anything else, before the weird pressure in his chest could turn into something embarrassing. Monday morning, Cole opened his email to find a new order through his website. Custom desk, walnut, minimalist design, 6 feet by 3 feet. Budget, $3,500. Client name, M. Sinclair. He stared at the screen for a full minute. Then he called the number listed. "Ms. Sinclair?" Her voice came through crisp and professional. "Mr. Bennett, you received my order." Cole leaned against his workbench, surrounded by half-finished projects. "Yeah. Why?" A pause. "Because I need a desk. Your portfolio looks quality." Cole laughed without humor. "This feels like charity." Margot's tone went cold. "It's not. I genuinely need a custom desk. Factory furniture lacks soul. I want something real." They went back and forth, Cole's pride warring with his bank account. Lily's birthday was coming up in November. He wanted to buy her a real bicycle, not a used one from Craigslist. She'd been asking for one for months. Finally, he surrendered. "Fine. When do you need it?" They scheduled her first visit for the next day at 2 p.m. Cole spent the morning cleaning his garage workshop, moving sawdust piles, organizing tools, trying to make it look professional instead of desperate. When Margot arrived, she examined everything with the same intensity she'd brought to their blind date. Ran her hand over a finished chair, asked about wood types and joinery methods. Cole relaxed slightly, talking about his craft, the one thing he was confident about. "Why walnut?" Margot asked, studying a sample board. Cole traced the grain with one finger. "It's strong. Ages well. Beautiful grain pattern. And..." He hesitated. "My wife loved walnut furniture." The words came out before he could stop them. Margot's hand stilled on the board. "Tell me about her." The question was bold, too personal for a business transaction. Cole should have shut it down. Instead, he found himself talking. "Laura was everything I wasn't. Outgoing, optimistic, saw good in everyone, even people who didn't deserve it. She made me better than I was alone." His voice grew rough. "Car accident, 5 years ago. Drunk driver." Margot didn't offer empty condolences. She just nodded, accepting the information. "I'm sorry," she said simply. "Everyone says that," Cole replied. "But sorry doesn't bring her back." They worked in silence for a while, discussing dimensions and finish options. When Margot left, she'd placed the order officially. Over the next 3 weeks, she visited twice a week, always with questions about the desk's progress. Cole began to suspect she was making up reasons to stop by. Once she brought coffee, one black for him she'd remembered from the café, and one with almond milk for herself. "You look tired," she'd said, handing him the cup. Cole had been up with Lily half the night. Nightmares again, the ones where she dreamed about a mother she barely remembered. "Lily had bad dreams," he said, accepting the coffee. It was good, expensive, from one of those boutique places downtown. Margot's face softened. "About what?" Cole hesitated, then figured, what the hell? Her mom. She doesn't remember Laura, clearly. She was only 2 when it happened. But sometimes she dreams, and I don't know how to help her. Margot was quiet for a moment. "That must be hard. For both of you." Something in her voice suggested she understood, really understood. "You're different outside the office," Cole observed. Margot smiled slightly. "What do you mean?" "At the cafe you were all business. Corporate. Now you're just a person." Margot's smile grew. "Maybe I'm more comfortable around wood shavings than PowerPoint slides." It was almost flirting, Cole realized with surprise. He changed the subject quickly, back to safe territory. Wood and angles and design. The Friday before Lily's birthday, Cole was teaching her basic sanding techniques in the workshop. School was out for teacher planning, and Mrs. Chen had the flu, so Lily was with him. When Margot arrived for her scheduled check-in, Lily shrieked with delight. "Miss Margot!" The name had stuck. Margot crouched down, still awkward, but learning. "Hi, Lily. What are you doing?" Lily grabbed Margot's hand, pulling her toward the workbench. "Daddy's teaching me. Want to try?" Before Cole could protest, Margot was holding sandpaper, her expensive clothes in danger from sawdust, carefully following Lily's enthusiastic instructions. "See? Smooth circles." Margot laughed. A real laugh, unguarded and bright. "It's harder than it looks." Cole watched them, something uncomfortable twisting in his gut. "You're doing fine," he said, and their eyes met over Lily's head. The moment stretched too long. Lily, oblivious, asked if Margot wanted to stay for lunch. Cole started to refuse, but Margot was already looking at him, questioning. "It's nothing fancy," he warned. "Just grilled cheese." Margot smiled. "I'd love to." Lunch was simple. Grilled cheese sandwiches, tomato soup from a can, apple slices arranged on a plate. They ate at Cole's small kitchen table, Lily chattering non-stop about school and her friends and the bicycle she wanted for her birthday. Margot listened attentively, asked questions, seemed genuinely interested. Cole found himself relaxing, the knot of tension in his shoulders loosening. After they ate, Lily went to draw in the corner while the adults cleaned up. "Sorry," Cole said, washing dishes. "She talks a lot." Margot dried a plate. "Don't apologize. She's wonderful." Cole scrubbed at a stubborn spot. "She doesn't have a mom. I try to be enough, but sometimes I worry I'm not." Margot set down the plate, turned to face him directly. "You are enough." Her voice carried absolute certainty. "You don't know that," Cole said. "I see how she looks at you," Margot said. "Trust me, you're enough." Something passed between them, an understanding that went beyond words. Cole cleared his throat, broke the moment. "The desk should be done by next week. I'll let you know." Margot nodded, accepting the subject change. When she left, Lily waved from the window. "I like her, Daddy." Cole watched the Mercedes pull away. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Me too." That realization scared him more than he wanted to admit. The next day, Lily asked if they could invite Miss Margot to her birthday party. Cole's instinct was to refuse, to keep his world and whatever was developing with Margot in separate boxes. But Lily's hopeful face broke him. "Okay, you can call her." He gave Lily the business card, watched her dial on speaker. "Hi, Miss Margot. It's Lily." Margot's surprise was audible. "Lily? How did you—" Lily didn't let her finish. "My birthday is tomorrow, and I want you to come." "Can you? Please, please, please." A pause. Cole held his breath. "Of course, sweetheart. I'd love to." Lily gave her the details, hung up, danced around the apartment. Cole texted the address, tried not to think about what it meant that Margot had said yes. Saturday afternoon, November 16th, their apartment filled with people. Mrs. Chen, now recovered, helped set up. Kyle and his wife arrived with their kids. A few of Lily's school friends ran around, hyped up on anticipation and sugar. Cole had made a chocolate cake from scratch. Laura's recipe, the one she'd always used. It wasn't perfect. The frosting was uneven. One layer tilted slightly. But it was made with love, and that counted for something. At 3 sharp, the doorbell rang. Lily raced to answer. "Miss Margot!" Margot stood in the doorway holding a wrapped gift, looking uncertain for the first time since Cole had met her. She wore nice pants and a silk blouse, clearly dressed up but not quite right for a kid's party. "Happy birthday, Lily." Lily hugged her, pulled her inside. Cole appeared from the kitchen, wearing his world's best dad apron that Lily had given him for Father's Day. "You came," he said, stating the obvious. "I promised," Margot replied. Her eyes scanned the apartment, taking it all in, the worn furniture, the crayon drawings on the walls, the life that existed here. When Lily opened presents, Margot's gift made Cole's stomach sink. A professional art set, oil pastels, watercolors, brushes, sketchbooks, easily $200 worth of supplies. Lily's eyes went wide. "Wow! Thank you, Miss Margot." The other gifts looked shabby by comparison. Coloring books, stuffed animals, a puzzle. Cole felt the familiar burn of inadequacy. After cake, while the kids played in the tiny backyard, the adults congregated in the kitchen. Mrs. Chen cornered Margot. "You're Cole's friend?" Margot glanced at Cole. "Yes. We met recently." Kyle, never one for subtlety, jumped in. "On a blind date, actually. Didn't go great at first, but seems like things improved." His wife elbowed him. Kyle grinned, unrepentant. "So, Margot, what do you do?" Margot explained about her company. Kyle whistled. "Impressive. How do you two meet again?" Cole interrupted. "Kyle, drop it." But the damage was done. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. Margot excused herself to use the bathroom. Cole followed her into the hallway. "I'm sorry about that," he said. "Kyle doesn't have a filter." Margot smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's fine." They stood in the narrow hallway, close enough that Cole could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive. "Thank you for coming," he said. "And for the gift. It's too much, but Lily loves it." Margot's smile faded. "Is that a problem? That it's too much?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Kind of, yeah. It makes my gifts look cheap." Margot's eyes widened. "That wasn't my intention." But Cole was already walking away, back to the kitchen, unable to articulate the complex shame and anger churning in his gut. Later, when Cole was washing dishes, Margot appeared beside him. "Let me help." They worked in tense silence, Cole washing, Margot drying. Finally, he spoke. "You didn't have to bring such an expensive gift." Margot set down a plate carefully. "I wanted to." Cole's frustration bubbled over. "It makes me look like I can't provide for my own daughter." Margot turned to face him. "That's not what I meant at all." Cole's voice rose. "You think money can buy everything, don't you? You show up here with your designer clothes and fancy gifts and—" Margot's eyes flashed. "I was trying to be kind." Cole stepped closer. "I don't need your kindness. I need respect." Margot's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. I do respect you. Cole laughed harshly. No, you pity me. Poor single dad. That's all you see. Tears formed in Margot's eyes. That's not true. But Cole was beyond hearing. Maybe you should go. Margot wiped her eyes quickly, composing herself. Okay. She found Lily in the living room, hugged her goodbye. I have to go, sweetheart. Work emergency. Lily's face fell. Already? Margot kissed the top of her head. Happy birthday. You're very special. She left without looking at Cole. The apartment felt emptier after she was gone. Lily came to him, confused. Why did Miss Margot leave? Cole picked her up. She had to work, baby. But Lily wasn't fooled. Did you make her sad, Daddy? Outside, Margot stood beside her Mercedes, taking deep breaths, trying to collect herself. Footsteps approached. Excuse me? A woman's voice, tentative. Margot turned. A young woman stood there, holding a bakery box, looking at her with wide eyes. Are you Margot Sinclair? Margot frowned. Yes? The woman's face paled. I'm Iris. Iris Sinclair. I'm your sister. Margot stared. Her sister's name was Iris, but they looked nothing alike. Margot was tall and angular. Iris was petite and soft-featured. But the eyes were the same. What are you doing here? Margot asked slowly. Iris held up the bakery box. You ordered a birthday cake. I work at the bakery. I was delivering it, but... She trailed off, looking at the apartment building. Is this Cole Bennett's place? Margot's pulse quickened. Yes. Why? Iris's voice shook. What's his full name? Cole what? Margot's throat went dry. Cole Bennett. Why does it matter? Iris dropped the bakery box. It hit the ground with a dull thud. CB, she whispered. Oh my God, it's him. Margot grabbed her sister's arm. Iris, what are you talking about? Iris looked up at her, tears streaming down her face. The man who saved me, 5 years ago, from the fire. I never knew his name, just the initials on his handkerchief. CB Chai, that's him. That's Cole Bennett. The world tilted. Margot's legs felt weak. 5 years. 5 years of searching, of hiring investigators, of following dead ends. And he'd been here all along. Before Margot could stop her, Iris was walking toward the apartment. Iris, wait! But her sister was already ringing the doorbell. Cole opened the door, Lily in his arms. He looked confused. Can I help you? Iris stared at him, at his face, at his hands, at the scar on his right hand that she'd seen in her nightmares for 5 years. It's you, she breathed. Cole's expression shifted from confusion to recognition, to horror in the span of seconds. I'm sorry, he said carefully. Do I know you? Iris's voice cracked. 5 years ago, the fire on East Burnside Street. You saved me. Cole went completely still. Lily squirmed in his arms, sensing the tension. Mrs. Chen appeared behind him. Cole? What's going on? Cole's face had drained of all color. His eyes moved from Iris to Margot, standing behind her sister on the sidewalk. Understanding dawned, terrible and complete. You knew, he said to Margot, his voice dead. You knew who I was. Margot stepped forward. I just found out, last week. I swear, I was going to tell you. Cole cut her off. How long have you been looking for me? Margot couldn't lie. 5 years. Cole's laugh was hollow. 5 years, and when you found me, you what? Decided to befriend me. Get close to my daughter? Was any of it real, or was it all just paying off a debt? Iris interjected. Cole, please, let me explain. Cole's voice rose. You both need to leave. Now! Lily started crying. Kyle appeared, took Lily from Cole's arms, carried her inside. Mrs. Chen ushered the remaining kids away from the door. Cole stood in the doorway, his whole body rigid with anger and pain. You saved my sister's life, Margot said, her voice shaking. I've been trying to find you, to thank you too. Cole stepped forward, and she saw something break in his eyes. Thank me? You want to thank me? His voice cracked. My wife died that night. While I was busy being a hero, she was driving alone to the hospital. A drunk driver hit her. She died scared and alone, and I wasn't there because I was saving a stranger. The words hung in the air, brutal and raw. Iris sobbed openly. Margot felt tears streaming down her own face. It wasn't your fault. Margot tried. Don't, Cole said sharply. Don't tell me what I should feel. You don't get it. You with your perfect life, your millions, your control over everything. I lost control that night. I chose to save your sister, and Laura paid the price. Margot took another step closer. You didn't choose. You couldn't have known. Cole shouted. I should have known. I should have been there. His voice broke completely. He turned away, shoulders shaking, refusing to let them see him fall apart. Get out of my house, both of you. Iris tried once more. Please, let me explain. But Cole slammed the door. They stood outside, the sound echoing. Margot sank down onto the porch steps, head in her hands. Iris sat beside her, the bakery box forgotten on the ground. This is my fault, Margot whispered. I found him, and I ruined everything. Inside, Cole stood with his back against the door, chest heaving. Kyle approached cautiously. Man, what just happened? Cole slid down the door until he was sitting on the floor. I killed my wife, he said dully. And I just found out who I killed her for. Kyle sat down beside him. Cole, that's not... Cole wasn't listening. He was back in that night. The smoke, the flames, the choice that hadn't felt like a choice. Margot didn't sleep that night. She sat in her penthouse, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt meaningless, staring at the file her investigator had compiled on Cole Bennett. Hospital records, police reports, newspaper clippings about a promising architect who'd quit after his wife's death. And there, in the police report, Laura's last text message to Cole. On my way, baby. Hold on. I love you. Sent at 9:30 p.m. She'd never gotten a response. Because Cole had been in treatment when the message arrived. By the time he saw it, she was dying. Margot traced the words with one finger. This was the woman Cole loved, still loved. How could Margot compete with a ghost? Iris called at 2 a.m. I can't sleep. They met at an all-night diner, sisters united in misery. I never wanted this, Iris said, stirring her coffee endlessly. I've spent 5 years feeling guilty that someone saved me, that I was worth saving, and now I find out his wife died because he saved me, and... She couldn't finish. Margot covered her sister's hand with her own. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't his fault. It was just... tragedy. But even as she said it, she knew Cole didn't see it that way. Cole saw cause and effect, saw his choice leading directly to Laura's death. What are you going to do? Iris asked. Margot didn't have an answer. Days passed. Cole didn't answer his phone. Margot's calls went to voicemail. Her texts went unread. She considered showing up at his workshop, but couldn't face another door slammed in her face. She threw herself into work, 12-hour days that left her exhausted but unable to sleep. Her assistant, Rebecca, finally intervened. Ma'am, you're running yourself into the ground. What happened? Margot told her everything. Rebecca listened without interruption. Then she said something Margot hadn't expected. You're in love with him? Margot opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it. Was she? Could you love someone you'd known for only a few weeks? Someone who'd made it clear he wanted nothing to do with you? It doesn't matter, Margot said finally. He hates me. Rebecca shook her head. He doesn't hate you. He's in pain, and you're associated with that pain. That's different. Margot laughed bitterly. What do I do with that? Rebecca considered. Give him space, but not too much space. Sometimes people need to be reminded they're not alone, even when they're pushing everyone away. So Margot waited. 1 week, 2 weeks. The desk Cole had been building sat in her office, delivered while she was in a meeting. It was beautiful. Perfect joinery, smooth finish, the walnut grain stunning in the afternoon light. She ran her hands over it daily, imagining Cole's hands doing the same, creating something from nothing. Thanksgiving came and went. Margot spent it with Iris, both of them picking at turkey and avoiding the topic that hung between them. December arrived, Portland rain turning to occasional snow. Margot saw mothers and daughters shopping for Christmas presents, and thought of Lily. Wondered if Cole had gotten her that bicycle she'd wanted. Wondered if Lily asked about her. Wondered if she'd ruined a 7-year-old's life along with her father's. Christmas Eve, Margot sat alone in her penthouse, expensive scotch in hand, staring at the city lights. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Heavy breathing. Then, it's Cole. Margot sat up straight. Cole. Silence stretched. She waited, afraid to speak and break whatever had brought him to call her. I went to therapy, he said finally. Started 2 weeks ago. My therapist says I need to talk to you, to hear your side. Margot's heart raced. Can we meet? Another pause. Yeah, but not at my place. Not yet. They agreed to meet at Riverside Café, the scene of their disastrous blind date, 2 days after Christmas. Margot spent those 48 hours in a state of nervous anticipation, changing outfits 5 times before settling on casual jeans and a sweater. She arrived 15 minutes early. Cole was already there, in their same booth, 2 coffee cups waiting. He looked different, thinner, tired, but his eyes were clearer, less haunted. Hi, Margot said, sliding into the seat across from him. Hi, Cole replied. They sat in awkward silence. Finally, Cole spoke. I'm sorry I yelled at you. At your sister. You didn't deserve that. Margot shook her head. You had every right to be angry. Cole wrapped his hands around his coffee cup. My therapist keeps saying anger is fine, but I need to direct it at the right target. I'm angry at the drunk driver who hit Laura, angry at the universe for shit timing, but I'm not angry at you or Iris or even myself, though that's harder to believe. He looked up at her. I wanted to blame someone. You were convenient. Margot's eyes stung. I'm sorry for not telling you sooner, for getting close under false pretenses. Cole shook his head. Were they false? The pretenses? Margot considered carefully. At first, I wanted to find you to thank you, to offer money or help or something to make up for what you did. But then I got to know you, and Lily, and it stopped being about debt and started being about... She trailed off, unsure. Cole finished for her. Connection. Margot nodded. Yeah. Connection. I haven't felt connected to anyone in a long time. My world is all business deals and board meetings and people wanting something from me. You and Lily were real. Are real. Cole took a sip of coffee. I can't give you what you deserve. I'm still grieving Laura. Probably will be for a long time. I'm broke. I'm damaged. I have a kid who needs stability, not a father dating someone just because she makes him feel less alone. Margot's heart sank. This was a rejection. A kind one. But still. Then Cole continued. But my therapist also said I need to let people in. That isolating myself isn't protecting Lily. It's teaching her that loving people means losing them. And that's not the lesson I want her to learn. He reached across the table, not quite touching Margot's hand, but close. I don't know what this is, between us, but I'd like to find out. Slowly, no pressure. Just two people trying to figure things out. Tears spilled down Margot's cheeks. I'd like that too. They talked for 2 hours, really talked, about everything. Cole told her about Laura, about the kind of mother she'd been, about the guilt he carried. Margot told him about Iris, about the 5-year search, about the loneliness of success. They talked about Lily, about Cole's carpentry, about Margot's company. They talked about small things, favorite movies, childhood memories, pet peeves. By the time they left, something had shifted. Not fixed, not healed, but shifted toward possibility. Can I see Lily? Margot asked as they walked to their cars. She asked about you, every day for the first week, then less, but she still draws pictures with you in them. Cole nodded slowly. Yeah. She'd like that. But we take it slow. I don't want her getting attached if this doesn't work out. Margot understood. Slow. I can do slow. They stood in the parking lot, breath fogging in the cold air. Cole reached out, squeezed her hand once, briefly. Thank you. For waiting. For being patient. Margot squeezed back. Thank you for calling. They parted ways, both feeling lighter than they had in weeks. New Year's Eve. Cole texted. Lily wants to know if you'd like to come over for dinner. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and a movie. Margot replied immediately. I'd love to. She showed up at 6 with a bottle of sparkling cider and a bouquet of flowers. Lily opened the door and threw herself at Margot's legs. Miss Margot, you came back! Margot hugged her tightly. Of course I came back. I missed you. They ate spaghetti that Cole had made from scratch, sauce simmering all afternoon. They watched an animated movie about a princess and a frog, Lily wedged between the two adults on the couch, her commentary more entertaining than the film. When Lily fell asleep against Margot's shoulder, Cole carried her to bed. Margot waited in the living room, studying the photographs on the walls. Laura Bennett smiled out from a dozen frames, frozen at various ages. Young and in love in her wedding photo, pregnant and glowing, holding baby Lily in the hospital, laughing at some joke the photographer had made. She was beautiful, radiant, everything Margot wasn't. Cole returned, found Margot staring at his wife's photo. She'd like you, he said quietly. Margot turned. You think so? Cole nodded. Laura always said I needed someone who'd challenge me, push me to be better. You do that. He stood beside her, both of them looking at the photograph. I'll always love her. That doesn't go away. Margot's voice was steady. I know. I wouldn't want it to. Cole looked at her with something like wonder. Most people can't handle that. Competing with a ghost. Margot met his eyes. I'm not competing. There's room in your heart for more than one person. Loving her doesn't mean you can't care about someone else too. Cole stepped closer. When did you get so wise? Margot smiled sadly. I spent 5 years searching for someone to thank. Turns out I was searching for something else entirely. Cole's hand came up, cupped her cheek. What were you searching for? Margot leaned into his touch. Something real. Someone who sees me. Not the CEO or the money or the success. Just me. Cole's thumb brushed across her cheekbone. I see you. They stood like that for a long moment. Then Cole leaned in and kissed her softly. It was gentle, almost chaste, a question more than a statement. When they pulled apart, Margot whispered, Is this okay? Cole rested his forehead against hers. Yeah, it's okay. They spent the rest of the evening talking quietly, sitting close on the couch, hands intertwined. When Margot left at midnight, Cole walked her to her car. Happy New Year, he said. Happy New Year, Margot echoed. What's your resolution? Cole thought about it. To stop punishing myself. To let myself be happy again, even if it feels wrong sometimes. Margot kissed him once more. That's a good resolution? Over the next months, they built something together. Slow, like Cole had insisted. Margot came to dinner twice a week. Sometimes she brought Lily art supplies, and they'd paint together while Cole worked in his shop. Sometimes Margot helped with homework, her business degree surprisingly useful for third-grade math. Cole met Iris officially, had coffee with her, and heard her side of that night. Iris apologized through tears for being the reason Laura died, but Cole stopped her. You were unconscious. You didn't ask to be saved. I made a choice. It had consequences I didn't foresee. But that's not on you. Margot invested in Cole's carpentry business, not as charity, but as a genuine partnership. She helped him set up a proper workshop, hire an assistant, create a website that actually looked professional. Orders increased. Cole found himself working steady hours, making good money, able to breathe for the first time in years. He moved his family to a better apartment, still modest but with room for Lily to grow. Lily thrived with 2 parental figures in her life. She called Margot Miss M and asked constant questions about business and technology and girl stuff that Cole admitted he was terrible at handling. Margot taught Lily about confidence and ambition. Cole taught Margot about slowing down and appreciating small moments. They balanced each other. Spring came to Portland, cherry blossoms blooming across the city. Cole took Margot and Lily to Washington Park for a picnic. They spread a blanket under a tree, ate sandwiches, watched Lily chase butterflies. I have something for you, Cole said, pulling a small wrapped package from his backpack. Margot opened it carefully. Inside was a handkerchief, cream-colored linen, with embroidered initials in navy blue thread. MS and CB. She looked up at him, confused. To replace the one I lost, Cole explained. The night I saved Iris, I used my handkerchief to help her breathe. Laura had made it for me, embroidered my initials. I never got it back. He touched Margot's hand. This is new. Ours. Not a replacement for what was lost, but something new we're building. Margot's vision blurred with tears. Cole. He pulled her close. I love you. I don't know when it happened exactly. Maybe when you tried to sand wood in a pencil skirt. Maybe when Lily fell asleep on you and you looked terrified but happy. Maybe earlier, at that stupid blind date when you smiled like you knew something I didn't. He kissed her forehead. I'll always love Laura, but I love you too. Different but real. Is that okay? Margot kissed him, tasting salt from her own tears. That's more than okay. Lily ran back, breathless and joyful. Did you see that butterfly? It was huge. She stopped, looking between the adults. Are you guys kissing? Cole and Margot laughed. Maybe a little, Cole admitted. Lily grinned. Good. You should kiss more. 6 months later, on a crisp October evening, Cole and Margot sat in the same booth at Riverside Café where their blind date had imploded. "Remember this?" Margot asked, running her hand over the table. "How could I forget?" Cole replied, "I said I was just a poor single dad." Margot smiled, and I smiled because I saw through the words to the man underneath, the one who was scared and defensive and trying so hard to protect himself. Cole reached across the table, took her hand. "I'm not poor anymore. You fixed that." Margot shook her head. "We fixed it. Together." Cole's expression grew serious. "I'm still a single dad, though." Margot's breath caught. Cole continued. "Unless you'd consider changing that status." He didn't pull out a ring, didn't get down on one knee, just looked at her with absolute certainty and said, "Marry me. Not because of debt or obligation or anything like that. Marry me because I want to build a life with you, because Lily needs a mother, and you'd be amazing. Because when I imagine the future, you're in it, all of it." Margot's tears came fast and fierce. "Yes! God, yes!" They kissed across the table, coffee going cold, neither of them caring. The waitress who'd served them on that first disastrous date walked by, saw them, and smiled. Love had a funny way of working out, even when it started with the worst blind date in history. A year later, Cole stood in his workshop, putting finishing touches on a rocking chair. Margot was due in 3 months, her belly round with their daughter. Lily had campaigned hard for a sister, and fate had delivered. "You almost done?" Margot called from the doorway. Cole turned, saw her silhouetted in afternoon light, and felt his heart do that stupid flip it still did every time he saw her. "Almost. I want it perfect for her." Margot waddled over, her word said with humor, and examined his work. "It's beautiful." Cole ran his hand over the smooth wood. "Walnut, of course. Laura would have loved this, meeting you, seeing Lily so happy." His voice didn't break anymore when he said her name. The grief had softened into something gentler, memory without agony. Margot leaned against him. "I like to think she had a hand in this, somehow, sending me that night to find you, even if it took 5 years." Cole kissed the top of her head. "Maybe. Laura always said everything happens for a reason, even when we can't see it." Lily burst into the workshop, home from school, backpack flying. "Daddy! Mom! Guess what I learned today?" She stopped, looked at them, at the rocking chair, at the life they'd built. "That's for my sister, right?" Cole nodded. "What do you think?" Lily touched the chair reverently. "I think she's going to love it. I think we're all going to love her." She looked up at her father with Laura's eyes. "Mom would be happy, wouldn't she?" "That we're happy?" Cole's throat tightened. "Yeah, baby. I think she would." That night, after Lily was asleep and Margot was reading in bed, Cole stepped out onto their small balcony. The city lights spread below, Portland alive and breathing. He touched the watch Laura had given him, still on his wrist after all these years. "Thank you," he whispered to the night, to her memory, to whatever force had led him from that blind date to this moment. "For loving me enough to want me to be happy. For Lily. For giving me the strength to save Iris that night, even though it cost us everything. Because in some strange way, it led me here." He looked back through the window at Margot, her hand resting on her belly, and felt peace settle over him like a blanket. The story could have ended in tragedy. The blind date could have stayed a disaster. The secrets could have destroyed them. The guilt could have won. But sometimes, against all odds, broken people find each other and build something whole. Sometimes the poorest single dad turns out to be the richest man in ways that matter. Sometimes a CEO learns that the best investment isn't in companies, but in people. And sometimes, 5 years after the worst night of your life, you discover it was also the beginning of something beautiful, just not in any way you could have imagined. Cole walked back inside, climbed into bed beside Margot, and pulled her close. She murmured sleepily, "Love you." He kissed her shoulder. "Love you too." Outside, snow began to fall, soft and silent, covering Portland in white. Inside, a family slept, imperfect and whole, built from ashes and second chances. And somewhere, in whatever comes after, Laura Bennett smiled.